Hello and welcome. Prepare yourself for 45 remarkable questions designed to test your knowledge. What animal can live in the desert? Camel. Fish. Frog. The correct answer is camel. Here's an interesting fact: camels are adapted to desert life. What do we call a home made of straw? Hut. Tent. House. The correct answer is hut. Here's an interesting fact: huts can be built from natural materials like straw. What part of the plant takes in water? Roots. Stem. Leaves. The correct answer is roots. Here's an interesting fact: roots absorb water from the soil. What type of weather is foggy? Misty. Sunny. Rainy. The correct answer is misty. Here's an interesting fact: fog is a thick cloud close to the ground. What do we use to talk? Mouth. Eyes. Ears. The correct answer is mouth. Here's an interesting fact: we use our mouth to speak. What animal has a beak? Duck. Cat. Dog. The correct answer is duck. Here's an interesting fact: ducks have beaks instead of mouths. What material is used to make clothes? Fabric. Metal. Plastic. The correct answer is fabric. Here's an interesting fact: clothes are made from different types of fabric. What happens to water when it evaporates? It turns to gas. It turns to ice. It disappears. The correct answer is, it turns to gas. Here's an interesting fact: evaporation is when a liquid turns into a gas. Which animal can swim and walk? Duck. Cat. Squirrel. The correct answer is duck. Here's an interesting fact: ducks have webbed feet for swimming. What does a plant's seed do? Grows into a new plant. Makes food. Holds the flower. The correct answer is grows into a new plant. Here's an interesting fact: seeds contain the baby plant. What is the opposite of light? Dark. Bright. Heavy. The correct answer is dark. Here's an interesting fact. Dark is the absence of light. What animal can crawl? Snake, bird, fish. The correct answer is snake. Here's an interesting fact. Snakes move by crawling. What do we call a baby pig? Piglet, puppy, kitten. The correct answer is piglet. Here's an interesting fact. Baby pigs are called piglets. What type of bird can swim well? Penguin, eagle, sparrow. The correct answer is penguin. Here's an interesting fact. Penguins are excellent swimmers. What is the shape of a diamond? Diamond, square, circle. The correct answer is diamond. Here's an interesting fact. Diamonds have a pointed shape. What do we wear to protect our hands? Gloves, shoes, hats. The correct answer is gloves. Here's an interesting fact. Gloves keep our hands warm. Which of these is a flower? Sunflower, apple, carrot. The correct answer is sunflower. Here's an interesting fact. Sunflowers have large, bright flowers. What is the opposite of in? Out, on, under. The correct answer is out. Here's an interesting fact. Out is the opposite of being inside. What animal can live in water and on land? Frog, cat, dog. The correct answer is frog. Here's an interesting fact. Frogs are amphibians. What do we call a home made of stone? Castle, tent, hut. The correct answer is castle. Here's an interesting fact. Castles were built from stone for protection. What part of the plant makes seeds? Flower, stem, roots. The correct answer is flower. Here's an interesting fact. Flowers are responsible for seed production. What type of weather is windy? Breezy, sunny, rainy. The correct answer is breezy. Here's an interesting fact. Windy weather has a lot of moving air. What do we use to chew food? Teeth, eyes, ears. The correct answer is teeth. Here's an interesting fact. Teeth break down food. What animal has feathers? Bird, dog, cat. The correct answer is bird. Here's an interesting fact. Feathers cover a bird's body. What material is used to make plates? Ceramic, metal, plastic. The correct answer is ceramic. Here's an interesting fact. Plates are often made from ceramic. What happens to water when it melts? It turns to liquid. It turns to gas. It turns to ice. The correct answer is, it turns to liquid. Here's an interesting fact. Melting is when a solid turns into a liquid. Which animal can climb trees? Monkey, fish, snake. The correct answer is monkey. Here's an interesting fact. Monkeys have strong hands and feet for climbing. What does a plant's fruit do? Protects seeds. Makes food. Grows roots. The correct answer is protects seeds. Here's an interesting fact. Fruits help seeds spread. What is the opposite of on? Off. Under. Above. The correct answer is off. Here's an interesting fact. Off is the opposite of being on. What animal can run very fast? Cheetah, snail, worm. The correct answer is cheetah. Here's an interesting fact. Cheetahs are the fastest land animals. What do we call a baby bear? Cub, puppy, kitten. The correct answer is cub. Here's an interesting fact. Baby bears are called cubs. What type of bird can mimic sounds? Parrot, eagle, owl. The correct answer is parrot. Here's an interesting fact. Parrots can copy words and sounds. What is the shape of a heart? Heart, circle, square. The correct answer is heart. Here's an interesting fact: hearts have a distinctive shape. What do we wear to protect our legs? Trousers, gloves, hats. The correct answer is trousers. Here's an interesting fact: trousers cover our legs. Which of these is a leaf? Oak leaf, apple, carrot. The correct answer is oak leaf. Here's an interesting fact: leaves are part of a tree. What is the opposite of left? Right, up, down. The correct answer is right. Here's an interesting fact: right is the opposite direction of left. What animal can live in the ocean? Shark, cow, horse. The correct answer is shark. Here's an interesting fact: sharks are fish that live in the sea. What do we call a home made of bricks? House, tent, pot. The correct answer is house. Here's an interesting fact: houses are commonly built from bricks. What part of the plant grows into a new plant? Seed, stem, leaf. The correct answer is seed. Here's an interesting fact: seeds contain the embryo of a new plant. What type of weather is hailing? Icy, sunny, rainy. The correct answer is icy. Here's an interesting fact: hail is frozen rain that falls as ice balls. What do we use to write? Pen, eyes, ears. The correct answer is pen. Here's an interesting fact: we use a pen or pencil to write. What animal has fur? Dog, bird, fish. The correct answer is dog. Here's an interesting fact: fur keeps mammals warm. What material is used to make bottles? Plastic, metal, glass. The correct answer is plastic. Here's an interesting fact: plastic is commonly used for bottles. What happens to water when it freezes? It turns to solid. It turns to gas. It disappears. The correct answer is, it turns to solid. Here's an interesting fact: Freezing is when a liquid turns into a solid. Which animal can jump high? Kangaroo, snake, worm. The correct answer is kangaroo. Here's an interesting fact. Kangaroos have strong legs for jumping. Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed the video and found it helpful. Stay tuned for more exciting content, and we'll catch you in the next one.